Hi, I'm so happy to see you. We came to a park and you can see all of the trees blossoming behind me. So these are the plum blossoms or ume. These blossom before the cherry blossoms that Japan is so famous for. And these are really the first harbingers of spring. You can see the blossoms are pretty similar to cherry blossoms in that they don't have stems. They just attach directly to the branches almost in small clusters. And they come in white and then shades of pink up until this pink. This would be just about the darkest. Yeah, there were a lot of photographers here today taking pictures, and the really famous places that have a lot of these trees are pretty crowded at this time of year. Sometimes there'll be a light snowfall on the blossoms, but usually not. And not these are bred for flowering, but the ones that are bred for the fruit will become the pickled plums, ume, or the liquor that is made from it, umeshu, which is also very good. It's usually like a sweet liqueur almost. You drink it with soda water or water usually, and you can buy it in the grocery store. I like it quite a lot. It's a pretty popular flavor for the winter months. You can buy like ume potato chips and other ones like that. Yeah, we were just talking about what my husband enjoyed in America when we were there some 15 years ago, I think was the last time that we were there for a longer period. We went after that for the kids to go to summer camp and that kind of thing. Yeah. What did you enjoy about America?
Food.
Food. Of course, food. Yes. You like food everywhere, though, I think. Yeah. Another thing, the first time we went, he worked. And so he works construction. And he was really surprised that the construction crews, the crew he worked with would start at 7 and then finish at like 3. We were in Chicago then, but I think that's pretty typical. In Japan, they start early, the same, 7 or 8, but then they'll go very late, sometimes even past dark, and they'll use floodlights to continue working through all that time. So it's quite a different atmosphere. They will take a decent lunch break, and a lot of the guys will sleep for part of it, so they'll take a whole hour. They'll just sleep, at the site, wherever, in their truck. And that also, I think, is pretty common in the States. I was working with a group this fall, and that was pretty much the pattern they followed too. But yeah, they didn't work as late as they do in Japan. So that was a good thing. Yeah. Anything else you liked about American life?
Not too hard.
Not too
Hard work.
hard work. Oh, yes. Yeah. So, yeah, not to put down anyone. I mean, yeah, the crews that I've worked with in the States, I mean, everybody works hard, but don't know, it's somehow like a different level. I feel like when we're working in the States, people are pacing themselves so as not to do too much. Whereas in Japan, it's like almost people are like rushing around the site to get stuff done more quickly. And, right?
No break.
No breaks. Yeah, that's true. In the States, we'll take a mid-morning break and a mid-afternoon break. And I think some of the government contracted crews have to do that. But if you're working privately, that's not a thing, or it's real short. Sorry. Oh, we're just trying to stay out of people's way. So here you can see some are just blossoming, right? This tree is not full yet. There are still really a lot of buds that have not bloomed yet. Sorry, my camera work is bad. I still have yet to buy a selfie stick. It's really minimal kind of thing. You're so kind to be watching this. I really appreciate it. But there's some really nice ones coming up here. But there are also then, of course, some more people. So we just have to navigate this a little bit carefully. But I think in general, the work ethic is similar. People work hard, but sort of the pace, whether the pace is more or less reasonable, as I would define it to be reasonable. And then, that goes along part and parcel with working hours. So you can see some of the blossoms here. These are really at their peak, maybe just a little bit beyond. And there's a very nice scent too. So again, these are not cherry blossoms, these are plum blossoms. And here you can see white ones. Yeah, very nice. I'm doing this right into the sun, which is probably not the best way to do it. But yeah, a lot of people out here taking pictures with their dogs and so on. Yeah, and it's a big thing. So, the weather on the news at night will have sort of a map of the whole country. Japan is about the size of California, and because it's laid out sort of similar to California, I think Americans tend to think of it north to south. Japanese people think of it as east to west. But in any case, there's definitely a gradation of the sequence of the blossoming. So the southern or western areas blossom first, and then it sort of moves up the country to the colder regions. And on the news at night, they will have a map that shows which areas of their country are in full bloom and which areas are expected to be in full bloom in the next couple days. And then they do the same thing for the cherry blossoms in that season as well. So you can see here, there's a small grove. We're in a big public park, and a mix of white blossoms in the front and then some pink ones in the back. Yeah, very landscaped, very beautifully. And I think with cherry blossoms it's the same, but these trees that have blossoms and no leaves, the stark contrast between the blossoms and the dark bark. So this tree you can see is quite old. It has lichen growing on it, and the blossoms are all the more striking against the dark bark. But yeah, very beautiful. Look at this, wow. But this region is not particularly known for plum blossoms. There are regions that are. If you watch Chani Japan, Chani Japan, her channel, she's in Wakayama, and they're known for plum blossoms and producing ume plums, pickled plums. Yeah, so she might have some good footage as well. Do you want to walk through here a little more or go up to the path? What else? Anything else about American life that you enjoyed?
People are nice.
Yeah, people are nice. So friendly and accepting, I think. Especially the first time we were in Chicago and the second time we were in New Orleans. And I think both of those areas have the population is very heterogeneous. So a lot of different people from a lot of different countries, and people are accepting of that and almost like celebrate it, like it makes the population more rich. And also just friendly, like saying hi to people and striking up a little conversation. I know my grandmother lived in Detroit, and whenever we went to visit her, from way down the street, people would say, hi, like they're still a few blocks away, and they're, hi, no, not a few blocks, but, across the street and down a bit. So friendly. I'd forgotten that about America, but it's true, right? Yeah. Or even, buying a little something at the grocery store, chatting with the cashier, or, choosing something from the shelf, and, somebody else also looking for an item, and you strike up a conversation. That rarely happens in Japan. If it does, it might happen with older people, but yeah, usually people just keep to themselves. It's pretty unusual. Yeah, Americans are very friendly.
And highway is nice.
Oh, the highway is nice. Yeah, he does a lot of driving. I usually, when we go back to the States, I've got too much other stuff going on, so I just let him drive. And he's a good driver. He likes driving. What's good about the highways in the States? Cheap. Oh, yeah. And, if you're thinking about it from the American perspective, it's not so much that the highways are cheap in America, in that they're expensive in Japan. They've really come down a lot. When I first moved here, so 30 years ago, even 20 years ago, it was literally hundreds of dollars to get on the highway and go, any significant distance. Like, we'd drive from Chicago to Detroit, for Thanksgiving and Easter and that kind of thing. Not a big deal. We might get on, a little highway, couple $3, something like that. But here, if you were to go to the same distance at that time, it would have been hundreds of dollars. Now it's really come down a lot. I think when we go to the airport, so the airport, that's about an hour's drive. What is it, like $30?
One way?
Yeah, 2,000 yen?
A little bit more.
A little more? So 2,000 yen, the exchange rate now, that's about $30, a little more than that. So one way, $40. So if we go to pick up the kids at the airport or something like that, two ways with parking, you're looking at $100. So, but that's like, that's so cheap compared to what it used to be, Now you can take the train. It would probably be a lot less than that to take the train, but with big suitcases, and after they've gotten off that flight, and it's kind of an event for us to go. Of course you go pick your kids up at the airport, right? Yeah, but that's true. And what else about the highways? I think for me, the highways are so wide.
Wide, yeah.
Wide.
Many space.
Each lane is definitely wider, and then more lanes. And often there's space between the two directions of traffic. There'll be a really wide boulevard. Where there are highways in Japan, for the most part, they just don't have the space to do that. Some places where there is space, if it's winding through the mountains or whatever, the infrastructure is excellent, so that's not an issue. And the two directions are divided by a boulevard or separate tunnels or two different levels, and they've done a good job with that. But in general, 2, maybe 3 lanes in one direction. It's pretty unusual to have 4 lanes in one direction, but I guess that's probably true of the States as well. But they get pretty congested, and the awareness of space just in general is different. So the cars will drive very close together. When you first get here, it's pretty much uncomfortably close. Perhaps if you're, I don't know, I haven't driven in Italy, but maybe a country like that, there's also that difference. Whereas in America, we usually have quite some distance between the cars in front and behind. But not many accidents. People are very good, accurate, careful drivers for the most part. So, but yeah, highways and driving on the highways is quite different. For sure. Even, yeah. Anything else?
Gasoline is cheap.
Oh yeah. That goes hand in glove with driving. Yes, it's. How much more do you think it is in Japan? In Japan, there's a very high tax on gasoline, and that tax is used for infrastructure and probably to cut down on pollution just in general. But also gasoline is sold by the liter, which is about a quart. So it looks like the price is about the same, and then you realize you're only getting a quarter of the amount for the same price. So I think it's like 3 or 4 times. It used to be 3 or 4 times, but now the yen has dipped. Oh, so a quart is $1. Yeah, that's about right. So a quart is $1, so a gallon would be about $4. So I guess it depends on the part of the country that you're in America, but it's right when it gets up to those prices, then you see it on the news every night in the States. Yeah, gasoline is definitely more expensive. Yeah, so in the States you can just drive as much as you want and it doesn't really cost you anything. I think that's kind of the way that we thought about it when we were there. That was nice. Yeah, and then of course you have big cars as part of that as well.
And driving is different. Right side, left side.
Oh, that's very true, right? Yeah. So in Japan, like in England, Britain, we drive on the left. So making a left-hand turn is like making a right-hand turn in the States. It's like the simpler one. Whereas to make a right-hand turn, you have to go out in the traffic and wait for the oncoming traffic to stop and then turn, or for there to be a break and then turn. So that's, yeah. And then going along with that, of course, the stick shift is on the other side. So the steering wheel is on the other side, and so the stick shift you do with your left hand. And
wiper, turn signal.
The wiper and the turn signal are reversed. And that, I'm usually good with driving on the other side, especially if I can ride around with someone for a couple of days before I have to drive myself. If I have to get a rent-a-car at the airport, I can manage, but I just have to kind of keep remembering. But the winker, turn signal, and the windshield wiper levers are reversed. And so it doesn't matter which way I'm going, back to the States or back to Japan, for some time, embarrassingly long amount of time, I turn on the windshield wipers when I want to turn, because I mistakenly hit that lever instead of the turn signal lever. So everyone's used to it and they don't make fun of me too much. It's frustrating though for me because, I'd like to be able to make that a little smoother. Do you get mixed up?
You tired?
Oh, if you're tired, that's when you have
Not
to really be
thinking.
careful. And you're not thinking, right? Yeah. So when I was back in the States, when I went back, the first couple weeks I was there, I really tried to make an effort because, it can be, of course, very dangerous if you enter the wrong lane of traffic. That would be disastrous. But there were a couple days when I was really stressed out and people would start honking at me and I'd be like, what's the problem? And then I'd realize. Just usually in the small neighborhood where the house is, I would realize and right myself. When you're tired or distracted, you really have to be on top of it. You have to be thinking. But I think that people tend to imagine driving in another country is much more difficult than it actually is. If you're a good driver, like reasonably good, you can drive in other countries. You just have to be pretty conservative at first and be aware that the way that they drive will be quite different from, what you're used to. We were somewhere and they had little stickers that said foreign driver for the rental cars. It was Okinawa.
Ah.
When we took a short trip to Okinawa last spring, and it was kind of like the first, the kids are gone, now we have our lives back. We really miss our kids. But try and find the good part of everything, right? So we went down to Okinawa and we just borrowed a car. We found a great Airbnb that came with a car, which was amazing. But they have a lot of rental cars down there, and because of the US bases, they have a lot, and of course foreign tourists as well, they have a lot of foreign drivers driving rental cars, and they had a little sticker, it was a magnet, that would go on the back of the car just to make aware the other drivers around the car that the person driving this particular car was a foreigner, and the message there is that they might not be used to not the driving rules, but the nuances of driving in that area. There are always little things you have to get used to, like if the light is yellow, are most people going to go through, like accelerate? You're not supposed to, but accelerate and try and make it? Or do people tend to be more conservative and start to slow down, like way before you would need to? Even the timing of how long a yellow light lasts, I've noticed is a little different from region to region. But I thought that was very good. That system of putting magnets on cars to sort of warn other drivers is a Japanese thing. When you're a new driver in Japan, when our daughter got her license, she had to have a special magnet on the car whenever she drove. I think for the first 1 year, that showed that she was a new driver. This is after she has gotten her official license and everything, not the permit or anything like that. And then they have another one for people who are older drivers. You can get a different special magnet that just lets the people around you know that you're an older driver. A lot of older drivers in Japan tend to be more conservative, maybe a little slower in driving. Speed, that's what I mean. They're much smarter than everyone else, which is why they drive more slowly, right? But just, and a lot of people like to have those on because then other drivers won't be so annoyed with them, because of course the socialization here is to think about what is convenient or inconvenient for everyone else around you. So, if you're taking your time, you don't want the person behind you to be inconvenienced because you're maybe driving a little more slowly. So the magnet on there just lets them know, this person is a new driver, this person is an older driver. Maybe you just want to go around instead of, waiting behind them. That that sort of signaling is very popular, I think. People like to have those on their car. It's not like a bad thing. Yeah, that's a really good point. You have so many good ideas. Anything else?
Oh, in Japan, small hit, big problem.
Oh, that's a really good point. So in Japan, he said, in Japan, small hit, big problem. So I think, well, it probably depends on the driver, but in America, if you just kind of bump the other person,
Never.
it's not I mean, yeah, some people might even just be like, yeah, it's too much trouble to call the insurance. It's fine, whatever. And it might be a little bung, it might be a little scratch. And people don't, I mean, of course, if you crash someone, you have to do something about that. But in Japan, no, right? What's it like in Japan?
Just
Even just a tiny touch, really. Yeah, police are called, there's a report filed, all the insurance stuff has to happen. It's, yeah, a little over the top. I remember my father was here once visiting, and we were exiting a highway on the ramp or something, and the guy behind us, it was a delivery truck or something. Do you remember that? It was a delivery truck or something, and he just bumped us. But there was a scratch, right? It wasn't a dent, but it was a scratch. And yeah, we had to sit there while everybody was called out and pictures were taken and da-da-da-da-da. And my father couldn't understand why this was happening. He was just like, you can't even see it. It doesn't matter. Let's just go home, you know? But that's not, and it's, you know, it's both parties. So it's not, my husband was the car in the front, right? The delivery guy's the guy in the back. It's not like for us to just say to the delivery guy, you know, it's okay, don't worry about it. Let's just all go home and forget this ever happened. He might be really worried about that later on. You know, will they come back and find me? Are they angry? I don't know if it's karma, but you know, it wouldn't necessarily have been the best thing for him either, even though his insurance, you know, the company's insurance ended up probably paying for something to be done, although I don't know what that would have been. It's, you know, it would have been easy. If I had been in the car, it would have been easy for me. If I had been the only one in the car, it would have been easy for me to just assume that it would be better for everybody to just like forget the whole thing. But that's not necessarily the case. So, you know, I think following the rules, going by the letter are very highly, you know, sort of prized priorities. Sort of, that's, yeah, the standard, and you don't just like decide by yourself, oh, let's just forget the whole thing. That's not the way that things are done, I think, in general. Is that fair? Yeah. If there's a rule, it needs to be followed.
Remember? I drive, hit the car.
You were driving.
I mean, in America.
Oh, in America. In Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't have said the place. Yeah, so we were on our way to Disney World.
Yeah.
I think we were in Tampa or something, and we were on our way to Disney World with the kids, and we had two cars. My dad was in the other car, and that was pretty bad. It's very unusual, and that's the thing, because it's, yeah, I mean, it kind of plays into the stereotype, but we were stopped at a red light, and my dad was in front of us, and we were behind him in the car with the kids in the back, and somebody just came barreling up and rammed right into us, like full speed. And there was a parking lot there, so everybody pulled into the parking lot, and then the guy took off. And I think it was a DUI. It was in the morning, but I think that he was high on his way to work. And then it got worse. My dad took off after him, and it was a whole thing. Anyway, the police came, and Dad's car was a rental car, so it was insured, and so we just let them deal with it. But I think I was sorry that my kids had to see that, and I explained to them afterwards that, there are confused people in every country. They were still small, and that, people try to do the right thing, but sometimes they make bad decisions, and it could have been a lot worse. I was really surprised that my dad took off after him, because if he had a gun, who knows how it could have ended. But I think he was just sort of out of his mind, and I don't know what happened to him. Whatever it wasn't enough for me. But his friends from his work, I think he worked at a garage or something, came and got him and whatever. So anyway, but yeah, that's not going to happen to you in Japan. I think you can pretty much count on that not happening in Japan. If you are caught drinking and driving at all, it's zero. The level is zero, and they will just take you and put you in prison, I think, right? No. Well, they definitely take your license away. And I think, it's actually gotten more strict. And also the place that served you is liable. The restaurant is liable. It's like they're just going to take everybody down. And actually, we just heard a couple weeks ago, we were talking with a restaurant owner, and he said for drinking alcohol and getting on your bicycle, the fine is, I think he said 60, 10? I thought he said 6. It was either 60,000 or 100,000 yen. So 100,000 yen. I bet you're right. I think it used to be. Oh no, because I was thinking it's like if you use your phone, because I worked with a group of young people and they were warned about this. If you use your phone and you're riding, like if you're stopped on your bicycle and you use your phone, that's one thing. But if you're riding and you're using your phone, I think it's 60,000. So 60,000 yen is like $1,000. So that's like for a high school student, right? And their parents are liable. And so, but this for drinking alcohol and then riding your bicycle, so 100,000 yen, which is 10万円って. So it's so large that I'm like, what? No, really? Is that
65,000?
ドル、米ドル。
650? 650か670か700いったら行き過ぎや。まあもう片700やな。
$700.
But safe, yo.
It's a lot, but
safe.
But safe means what?
Nobody drink.
Oh yeah, and so for that reason, sorry it got so dark. For that reason, then it's very safe. You don't have to worry about. Sorry.
Nice.
There's a tree tunnel. We entered a tree tunnel. Couldn't see. Yeah, but for that reason, I think the point was that it's very safe. I should probably try and cut this off earlier. I never do though. Anyway, yeah, don't drink alcohol and ride your bicycle. And In Japan. Yeah, don't drink and do anything except walk. Yeah, take a taxi. They're cheap. Don't mess around with that. We go.
Not cheap.
Not cheap?
Not tip.
No tip.
Not tip.
Yeah, you don't need to tip the taxi driver, so just take a taxi. Yeah, it's different. Um, Anyway, yeah, Americans are friendly though. I think that's the biggest, yeah, both of us feel. I mean, Japanese people are friendly, but Americans are like outgoing and friendly, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Heart is big.
Heart is big. It's so true. Yeah, love America. Love Americans. Okay, I think we're gonna cut it off here. Thank you so much for joining us. We're always happy when you do, and really hope that you have a great rest of your week. So, as always,
Enjoy food, enjoy life.
thanks for joining us. See you next time.